again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people.
And Bitcoiners came out and they said, you are actually going to further accelerate the demise of the U.S. dollar because now you have introduced this sanctions risk. Yeah. There was a paper that came out of the Harvard Economics Department where they talked about, will countries now start to buy Bitcoin, not for price, not for the sovereignty, but actually as a sanctions hedge?
Russia.
And so Russia is actually doing that. Yes. Do you think they're the only one?
No.
I wouldn't bet on it. Well, if you think about what he's trying to do here, right, is he's basically looking at strategic reasons to acquire physical property in order to advance the American ideals, ethos, and strategies. Well, what about the digital world? We live in a digital world. And so if you're going to go after the Panama Canal, there's obviously strategic reasons to do that. Greenland as well. Owning Bitcoin is digital real estate. There's only 21 million that will ever exist. We know other countries are mining, buying, holding Bitcoin. And so are we going to let these other countries be the leader, or are we going to be the leader? And I think that's really the decision they have to make.
What do you say to people who say it has had a massive run? It's, mentally, it's difficult to kind of get on board at these levels when we know where it's been. And we've also seen that volatility. Somebody very smart told me, well, take 2% and just money that, you're willing to risk and put it in. I still find that difficult to do.
If you go back to the 1980s or 1990s, buying the S&P 500 was real scary, but you were a genius if you did it in hindsight. And so same thing here with Bitcoin is you can look backwards and see how high it rose. But if you look forward and say, well, if this continues, which we have every reason to believe it will, buying today is the second best time to buy because the first best time was yesterday. And if we keep waiting, it's only going to get worse and worse. And so I think
I hear you. It's just hard to pull the trigger.
Of course. And that's true of all financial assets, right? I mean, think of a real estate market. If people will go and they'll say, oh, my God, I could have bought 5 years ago. Now it's at this price. I just can't wrap my head around that. Well, if you wait 5 more years, the dollar is going to continue to be devalued. And so usually if you decide, hey, I want to own something, go ahead and buy it. Well, I think about 50% of the value they bring to the table has already been captured because really it was just awakening America to this idea that technology is good, business is good, free markets are good, capitalism is good. Bitcoin is the most free market asset that we have. And so out of nowhere, we went from a world where I think a lot of people were saying, hey, is the future actually brighter than the past? To now they're saying, oh, wait a second, we are going to put business-oriented people into the White House and into the administration. Let's go, right? And so you hear things like it's morning in America, people saying it's time to build, et cetera. Now, what I do think is interesting about these businesses is it's actually showing not that crypto is different, it's that crypto companies are the same as non-crypto companies. If you look at Amazon and Facebook and many others, they're also donating $1 million to this inauguration fund. And so it used to be a world where there was kind of like the adults in the room and then the crypto little kids were playing kind of in the corner. But now all of a sudden you're realizing that these crypto companies are showing up and they're saying, look, we are no different than these big multi-billion dollar, $100 billion companies. We also are going to donate. We have a seat at the table. And so it's really crypto growing up more than it is these other people.
He has to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve or else they turn on him?
I do think that that is a potential risk. And so, look, if you look at the administration, Trump owns Bitcoin and crypto. J.D. Vance owns Bitcoin, I believe. There's a lot of people in the administration. You just go through all the different roles that they've appointed people. And so these are Bitcoiners to a degree or crypto holders that are going into the office. They're likely to go ahead and buy.
Well, they're going to get criticized for that.
They may get criticized for it. But also, if you look at it right now, what is the United States doing? We're buying bonds. We're holding other assets. We have a president that's currently in office and also politicians who are literally day trading assets. Yep, right. And so it's no different, right? I think the big story of 2025 is going to be that crypto has now grown up and is part of the traditional financial system. And there's pros and cons to that. But now we have a seat at the table. You saw that in the political arena in terms of donations and influence. But you also now are going to see it in the financial arena. And that is going to be a huge tailwind, I think, for Bitcoin and crypto in 2025. I think that Bitcoin is the king. It will remain the king. I think that most of the capital flows from the traditional world are going into Bitcoin. There are going to be other assets that enter into the market. You obviously see the ETH ETF got approved. You'll probably see others that get approved as well. But the argument for anything other than Bitcoin is a very different one. That is a technology argument. Yes. It's no different than trying to pick between Amazon and Google and Facebook. The Bitcoin argument is much more akin to, do I want to protect my purchasing power? It's digital gold. And so that argument to me is much more reasonable for the government to say, hey, we're going to go and we're going to put this in our reserves. I don't think that the United States wants to get in the game of trying to pick tech winners or losers based on, the allocation of capital.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have pump on Bitcoin and the destruction of fiat. And we see the emerging markets running to Bitcoin and running to these stable coins. But remember, guys, this is all part of the plan. No one never asks why Bitcoin is here and these rest of these cryptos are here. If they answer that, we'll have the masses investing. They don't want to do that. The mainstream media plays the Hegelian dialectic. Instead of informing the people of the fourth industrial revolution that's right around the corner. And will Bitcoin have a pullback? Only thing you have to do is ask, will liquidity start to dry up? And the answer is yes. But then we also have utility over the next 3 to 5 years that's going to be moving fast for Bitcoin and crypto. So yes, in the short term, we're going to have pullbacks while they build this fourth industrial revolution, while they implement all this technology. But as we can see, Bitcoin was put there to sell a narrative, getting rid of the banks while Bitcoin take over. But as we can see, the big banks were behind Bitcoin and crypto from the beginning. And now we have the rise of the machines, and the machines now have money so they can run the economy without a human involved. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And will Bitcoin go to 200,000 before it hits 50? And we don't have to guess. The only thing we have to do is watch the Fed. If the Fed keeps us here higher for longer, then we know liquidity is going to shrink. If the Fed says, hey, we're going to come in and cut 50, 75 basis points or start moving those trillions of dollars out of these money market accounts into the stock market, then we know we'll get a pump. But if they pause, we get these tariffs, we get the BOJ raising rates, we know liquidity is going to start shrinking, and that's going to hit all markets. It doesn't matter the sector. And then also we have crypto regulation coming, which is also going to shrink liquidity and then shrink a whole lot of these cryptos because they're not going to make it. The only thing we have to do is look at the MiCA regulation in Europe. And starting December 30th, a lot of these stable coins are going to go away. But of course, they give them time to implement that. I don't know whether it's 6 months to a year, but Bitcoin and crypto is definitely going to take a hit, especially Tether. And that's going to lead to the central banks controlling these stable coins. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When we talk about the SEC, we're really talking about things other than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been perceived to be a commodity and it's been something outside of it. But the fact that there isn't a basic regulatory framework for the exchanges and the trading of these assets, I think is something that has kept people out of Bitcoin. When you look at all of the institutions, the wirehouses and others, they see like, oh, they think this is unregulated. And if there were regulated markets like people are used to having with financial assets, I think people would be more open to coming into Bitcoin. But, you know, I'm in the camp of going back to that survey. I think it goes to 200 before it goes to 50. I think that, you know, you have a lot of people that are learning about Bitcoin for the first time. And I think, you know, as more and more sort of retail financial advisors are advising their clients to do this, I think that we're going to see more people come into Bitcoin. Also, we see a lot of countries around the world or even states around the United States that are building Bitcoin reserves. I'm not sure that's something that the U.S. is going to do right out of the gate, but people are looking to hold more Bitcoin, not less. And so I think just having that change of attitude from the top, having a president who says, hey, we want U.S. to be the capital of this industry. We want to fight for you. We're behind you. We're going to get the rules right. We're going to get it done here. Just having that change of attitude at the top makes a tremendous amount of difference. Administration, so we could have the SEC or the CFTC use the authority that they clearly have to help move the ball forward to find that regulatory framework that works for the industry. And so, you know, I think that this is a real opportunity, but we need to act now as an industry. We need to do it in a unified way, or we're going to miss this moment, and there could end up being some sort of backlash or something that sets us back again, and then we have to, you know, continue to build up that political capital.
So in terms of that regulatory framework that you referred to regarding the exchanges specifically, what are some of the tent poles of that you're seeking? I mean, what are some of the hallmarks, and how will they affect the likes of a Coinbase or a Robinhood?
Yeah, I think if you talk to any of the exchanges or the brokers that are out there today, is they want a place to be able to go and register. Like, they want to have government with some oversight to ensure that there aren't conflicts of interest, that things are running smoothly, that there isn't any funny business going on at that level. When you have a centralized entity that's performing those types of services, this doesn't apply to DeFi. This is just for the centralized platforms. And we also need to figure out some way to solve this issue of what are these tokens. This issue of token classification has been a problem for a long time. And then some, basic rules around custody. These are all things that would be very easy to do, but some of them, there are not clear authorities today. So we need Congress to actually pass a law to do that. But I think having a place for these exchanges to register would be very helpful in moving the market into the next generation here.
And just quickly, you said 200 before 50, but does it ever go back to 50, or is that history?
I think it's history. I mean, listen, I'm the policy person, right? I work in Washington. I am not Bitcoin rich myself. So, listen, I think that more people are opening up to this. I think it's gone so mainstream in the short time that I've been doing this work, and I think that when people realize that, boy, I want to have 1%, 2% of my retirement portfolio in Bitcoin, that is kind of a one-way street. And I think as we're talking with different institutions, there's been this shift of they can't afford to not have an informed position on this. And I think that, ultimately is going to lead more and more people to buying Bitcoin over time.
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, BitChute, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.